All right, let's talk about a phrase you've probably heard a million times, but maybe you've never really heard it. There's a challenge hidden in those simple words, and understanding it could totally change how you listen to, well, everything. So that phrase, he who has ears, let him hear, you see it all over the Bible. But is it just some old-timey saying, or is it something more? A direct challenge to a deeper kind of listening that most of us, just miss completely. That's exactly what we're going to dig into. So the key to unlocking this whole thing is a single Greek word, akouo. Now, this isn't just about sound waves hitting your eardrum. No way. Think of it more like a three-part process. You hear something, you actually understand what's being said, and then, and this is the crucial part, you let it change what you do. Okay, so let's break that down. To really get akouo, you can't think of it as just one thing. It's more like a journey that starts with a simple sound but can end in a total transformation. Let's walk through the three dimensions of it. Okay, here's the roadmap. We start with physical perception, then we move to mental comprehension, and we end up at the most important one, transformational response. Let's jump into step one. All right, dimension one, physical perception. This is akouo at its most basic level. It's pretty straightforward, really. Think of it like hearing a news bulletin. In the book of Matthew, Joseph heard that a dangerous ruler was in charge. He just got the information, plain and simple. It's the starting line, but it is just the start. Okay, moving on to dimension two, mental comprehension. And this is where things start to get interesting. Jesus actually points this out himself. He says the crowds could physically hear his words, but they weren't truly hearing in that akouo sense. The meaning just wasn't sinking in, It's like hearing the melody of a song, but having no idea what the lyrics are about. The sound is there, but the message, it's totally lost. And that leads us to the third and honestly the most critical dimension of all, the transformative response. This is where hearing and doing become one and the same. Jesus makes it super clear. The wise person isn't just someone who hears his words. No, the wise person is the one who hears and then puts them into practice. This isn't about just nodding your head in agreement. It's about letting those words completely reshape your actions, building the very foundation of your life on them. And right here, this is the game changer. That third dimension of hearing, the one that demands you do something, that's the bridge. It's the bridge that connects a spoken word to real, living, breathing faith. It's the moment listening stops being passive and becomes an active, powerful thing. Just look at the contrast here. It couldn't be clearer. The person who only hears, the one who gets stuck in those first two dimensions, is basically building their life on sand. It might look okay for a while, but when the storms of life hit, it's all going to collapse. But the person who truly gets akouo, who hears and believes enough to act on it, well, they're building on solid rock, unshakable, no matter what comes their way. And you gotta understand, the stakes here are incredibly high. In the Gospel of John, Jesus connects this kind of active, responsive hearing directly to belief and to eternal life. We're not just talking about having a better life now. This is presented as the actual path from death to life. True hearing in this sense is literally life-giving. So if this kind of hearing is that important, where does it all lead? Well, let's fast forward to the very last book of the Bible, Revelation. This is where we see that command to akouo become the final, ultimate challenge for communities of faith that are under some serious pressure. Okay, so in Revelation, there are these messages sent to 7 specific churches. You got Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum, and so on. Each one had its own unique set of problems and its own strengths. But at the end of every single message, we find the exact same urgent command. Take the church in Ephesus. They were a community that had kind of lost its first love, its passion. And the message to them ends with this: whoever has ears, let them hear. And then you have the church in Smyrna. They were facing just intense persecution. And what's the command? The exact same thing. Whoever has ears, let them hear. And you see this pattern again and again for all 7 of them: Pergamum, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea. This isn't just a gentle suggestion, right? It's being presented as the absolute fundamental requirement for every single one of them to overcome their challenges. The message is crystal clear. True, active hearing is the key to victory. And here it is, the crucial link, the payoff. Right after that command to hear, there's a promise made specifically to the one who is victorious, or the overcomer.
The connection is impossible to miss. The path to becoming an overcomer, to being victorious, is paved by this deep, responsive, transformative hearing. Faith comes by hearing the word, and that faith is what turns you into an overcomer.
So this whole journey, digging into just one ancient word, brings us right back here to our own lives today. We've seen that hearing isn't just about sound waves. It's about understanding. And more than that, it's about a response that literally changes everything. So that leaves us with one final question, for me and for you. In a world that is just screaming for our attention, filled with so much noise, how are you listening? Are we just letting all that sound wash over us? Or are we really trying to practice Akouo? Listening to understand, listening to believe, and ultimately listening to be transformed. Because when it's all said and done, the answer to that question might just determine what our lives are truly built on.